South China Morning Post, 11th of August 2023, may be a sign of its dissatisfaction over closer Philippine ties with the U.S. is how China behaves in the South China Sea. Observers believe China is taking a more assertive stand on a disputed shoal in the South China Sea to convey its dissatisfaction with the Philippines and its growing partnership with the U.S. After China's Coast Guard deployed water cannons to obstruct a mission to supply Philippine troops stationed on a Second World War vessel purposefully grounded on the Second Thomas Shoal to assert Manila's claim to sovereignty, tensions between the competing claimants are on the rise. Since the conflict last weekend, China has also claimed the reef in the Spratly Islands, and its Coast Guard has accused the Philippines of repeatedly disregarding warnings from the Chinese side and attempting to deliver construction materials for the repair and reinforcement of the ship in several statements. Meanwhile, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. of the Philippines has refuted China's assertion that his nation had pledged to remove the BRP Sierra Madre ship and has denounced what it called dangerous maneuvers by the Chinese side. Confrontations have also resulted from prior supply trips to the Philippines. In February, for example, Manila accused the Chinese Coast Guard of aiming military-grade lasers at one of its ships. Beijing refuted the charge then, and the Chinese Foreign Ministry suggested that the two sides communicate to resolve maritime disputes. According to Ian Story, a senior fellow at the Aziz Yusof Ishaq Institute think tank, Beijing's firm posture following the most recent episode may express Beijing's resentment for the closer ties between Manila and Washington under Marcos. To show its disapproval of the Marcos administration for adopting a tougher stance on the maritime conflict and for fortifying the nation's partnership with the United States, including upcoming combined naval patrols, China has escalated the situation in the South China Sea. When Manila granted Washington access to 4 new military bases in April, Beijing became enraged. Near China's artificial islands on the Mischief and Fiery Cross reefs in the Spratly archipelago, there is one base, 2 bases about 500 kilometers, 310 miles, from Taiwan, which is currently a major potential flashpoint. The Philippines said it will resume cooperative patrols with the U.S. in the South China Sea, which were discontinued by previous President Rodrigo Duterte in 2016, in an additional attempt to strengthen its relationship with the U.S. The strengthening of the U.S.-Philippine alliance may indeed have a certain impact, especially when the Philippines is increasingly willing to strategically align with the U.S., which has implications for China's security as well, said Ding Duo, an associate research fellow at the National Institute for South China Sea Studies in the Hainan province of southern China. However, the fundamental issue remains China's desire to protect its territorial sovereignty, as China attempts to find a middle ground in the territorial conflicts. China has also offered to organize joint military training with the Philippines in what is thought to be an effort to offset U.S. influence. Still, Jonathan Malaya, the Assistant Director General of the Philippine National Security Council, has stated that there is no legal foundation for such activities. Beijing stated that the U.S. had attempted to encourage and support the Philippines in repairing and reinforcing the BRP Sierra Madre shortly after the event was made public on Sunday. According to the Chinese Foreign Ministry, the U.S. attempted to intimidate China by drawing attention to its mutual defense treaty with the Philippines, which would compel Washington to support Manila should one of its ships be attacked in internationally recognized Philippine waters. Observers said that the most recent altercation would cloud the ongoing discussions between China and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations regarding a code of conduct in the South China Sea, even though it is anticipated that Beijing and Manila would attempt to prevent the conflict from worsening. The Philippine military declared on Wednesday that it was prepared to launch another replenishment mission within the next 2 weeks. It would not be the best environment for code of conduct discussions, and the Philippines might become more assertive or increase its negotiating leverage in the negotiations, Ding stated. Only highlights the need for a code of conduct for the South China Sea, Story stated about the recent occurrences. However, differences over the agreement's legal bindingness and geographic extent could delay the creation of a final document, which would aid in dispute resolution, for years. Story continued, unfortunately, it is unlikely that a final agreement will be reached this year or even next year.